We got Jackson, we got Lucas, we got everybody involved in the proceedings. 615-737-1045 is the number. Did the music go away? What happened? Thought that was my headset. What are you doing back there? Little foreplay to start the morning, Jackson. Just ease me into it. Ease me into it. Huh?
It didn't go away.
I think I have a, what do they call those things? Where you have an issue in your headset jack? What do they call it?
A short?
Yeah, that. I can't hear myself half the time. Either way. Oh, what's that?
Well, you got to mute your laptop before you start the show.
Yeah, you think because you're in this studio with me, you can get away with that now? Let's talk about sabotage, shall we? Do you want to go get the rest of your classmates here out in the hallway? Because the cackling that I heard to start this radio show today
sounded like hyenas.
I'm telling you, a literal gaggle of them outside the studio. In fact, Jackson, I do want the rest of them in here. Go get them. Well, get rid of the music first, and then you can go get them. I'm sorry, buddy.
We keep bossing them around like that.
I just think this needs to be a community exercise, given that there was a community effort this morning to stop me from making the radio show.
I'd like a please.
Yeah, give him a please. A please or he doesn't go.
Please.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
Progress.
You want to explain yourself?
So this
collusion.
Time, I come in here for the show and I see Robert rummaging around out there and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making a barricade so he can't get in. So I sit here and I watch as Robert finds. I don't even know where he's finding these objects. Like, you know those square I don't even know how to
They're like pieces of material that are used to buffer sound in a studio.
Sound, yeah. For the acoustics. It's like this.
I think most people can picture it.
It's like this big square piece of fabric almost that you'll see in walls in the studio or something. And he's putting those up and
everybody
he's putting,
in here,
Jason,
all of you,
the Jason
right now.
Aldean cardboard cutout.
What, is Slay already gone?
It's like I feel like Robert.
I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him on the air.
I feel like Robert went rummaging around in the dumpster behind the building and just grabbed as many items as he could and then just started stacking them on top of the door.
What do you think you're doing?
What do you mean?
You come in this studio one time and now you think you can stop me from coming in here to do my job? Who do you think you are?
What can I say, Buck? Now, it's just like I've grown past you. It's kind of like I was the freshman and you were the senior, and now I'm the senior and you're just there.
Now you're the Shrek gang.
He's the what gang?
This is so fascinating, because I didn't know what he was going to do. I know the scare tactic thing always works, too, okay? I wasn't sure if you were past that already, but then he started just like, well, it's almost 10 o'clock. Buck's not here. Let's make him even worse. Let's make it even later. You know what? Play it out exactly how he said. He is a genius behind the madness, is all I'm telling you.
He's your problem now. Will Bowling is also in studio.
What
do I want? I want to understand how this collusion came to be and who do I need to hold most responsible. I'm pretty sure I know the source, the root of all evil around here.
All right,
I think I know as well. I think the man you need to hold accountable is the man in the mirror, Buck. Because this barricade was not made until 9:55. Your show begins at 10 a.m.
That
The
was
man
even
in
after
the mirror
9:55.
looking back at you is the one who allowed you to have this barricade.
You know what? Dang it. Hurts to do this. I'll step up to the plate. I'll tell you guys who's behind this. It was all Slay's fault.
If he's in his car right now listening, he better turn around and come back here. I'm not done with him yet. I had to physically, he may be lighter now, but he's still hard to move. I had to physically move him out of my way today.
He is the only one that fled the scene.
Yeah. And there's video of this, too. Sammy recorded the entire thing.
So Sammy has just appeared in my life only to further undermine me.
She has.
So I want to know at what point you decided that this was going to be your tact of the morning, because you haven't jump scared me in a while. You're not my problem anymore. You're their problem. Why do you insist on continuing to insert yourself into my life?
It's our solution.
It's so much fun, man. Listen, but here's what happened. Okay, so we were sitting down, we're about to record a spot, and then somebody said, "Where's Buck at?" And I know in my heart of hearts.
You know where I'm at. I'm at the circle. I'm whipping
out your key cards.
Whipping around the sticks.
I'm whipping around the sticks faster than you've ever seen.
And I know in my heart of hearts that Lucas, it deserves to be the Lucas Panzika show. So what I do actively, just about every day, every time I see the opportunity, I like to try to befuddle you. So you come in here on one foot, you know what I mean? Hopping, just skipping, hoping that you catch a break.
It never works. Every time you try to hinder me that way, it only comes back at you 10 times stronger.
But I think it makes Lucas look like the ultimate professional. Lucas is here early. Lucas is prepared. Lucas is ready to host a show. You, on the other hand, come in here in the shirt that you wore last night to bed. Your hair is unkept. Your beard looks like 12 o'clock shadow. It's only 10.
I shaved it an hour ago.
You smell of elderberry. There's just something. There's something off about you.
What's so awesome about it, though, Buck? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know how we were gonna get this done, but then he got some soundproof panels out of the studio.
Foraging.
Yeah,
Foraging across. He could have found one of the stray cats that lives underneath the building and put it in front of the door and tried to stop me the day.
I ain't gonna lie, I put a ream of paper out there just to support the soundproof panels.
I needed that, though.
I had to. Everybody was going in. It's almost like we spoke about this earlier. It's like ISS. Like I was with the degenerates at that point.
This was like when summer school is just all the class clowns in the same room. That essentially is what just happened today.
It is.
Well, that's how I know this is all bleep, because you're in on it. Like you're the perpetual rule follower around here.
That's the thing. We talked about this morning, is that these two are like the class clowns that sit in the back of the classroom, and then I'm the one trying to do my work,
exactly what
who
we talked
looks
about.
around at the end of it and laughs for 2 seconds, and then I'm the one that gets in trouble.
That's correct.
Exactly what
Welcome to my world.
And then
You want us on that wall. You need us on that
this is
wall.
the first time
one guy
we've
you
been
expect,
aligned.
Ron, leaves. He's not getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh no. There will be consequences for his actions. He's gonna be at the bowling event. They all are. All three of them.
And not
It
me.
is my last name.
You're going.
I'm not going. I'm not going to Split Happens. Listen, because places that you don't talk about at parties, you know you need me there. So you need to find a reason to bring me
Flip
up.
it around.
Do you want to talk about you coming over to my house this weekend and needing to go home at 11 o'clock because you got the spins? You want to talk about that?
No, I'd rather not.
Excellent. See how quickly?
No, I think you take him for granted.
See how quickly?
I think he's going to stop showing up to things.
No.
and you're gonna
I
start
saw a
asking
little
for
bit
him.
of that red color drain from your face. I see you.
I think he just didn't want to hang out with you.
We were having a nice time.
That's right. All right.
It was good.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 6 to 10 a.m. And Bert, are you then going to force yourself into the name of the show now?
No, it's
you
not
continue
about
to
me.
pry your way into other places that you have no business being.
RK-Dub beat. It's got a ring to it.
No, that show's
Print the
not about me.
t-shirts.
That show's not about me.
Yeah.
This show is about me. That's why I come in here to indulge myself.
I really do. I think I honestly think it's the time slot. It's the most self-involved time slot there's ever been on this radio station. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to join the conversation, I suppose we're going to talk about sports today, but they did accomplish their goal. Well done. I'm flustered.
Do we all get to go to the shadows together now?
I'd love that.
Jackson, are you prepared?
No, he's on the phone. Take your asses to the shadows right now. Now we have to awkwardly stall like they're not still in the studio because he's on the phone and he can't do anything.
The chorus of
A
shadows.
literal chorus.
That was amazing.
Well done, gentlemen.
That was amazing.
The finest in radio production around here
Oh,
on
my goodness.
104.5 The Zone.
Oh, no.
Unbelievable.
Cousin Roger on the F&M Bank chat. So I'm confused. What happened to Shafe? Late to the party there. That's okay.
Been away for a few weeks. Well,
Yeah, Shafe no longer with us. Very much alive.
No longer-
But does not work
why
at
do
this
you
radio
keep
station.
doing that in a way that it sounds like you've killed the person?
Well, he's picked up a great gig with Big D and Bubba, and Bert is now in Shafe's chair.
Yeah, we got rid of him, except not really. So now that order has been restored, we can actually do a radio show today. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. The fall of Pat Fitzgerald, easy for me to say.
You didn't get my Shrek Gang reference there.
Shrek Gang?
Yeah, it makes me think that you didn't do your research on this whole ordeal.
We're going to talk about this coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is where you can go to get the support system you need as you age. This happens to a lot of guys as your body starts to change. Things like erectile dysfunction can happen, and you want to make sure that you have that support system in place. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has an experienced staff who will help you find the most effective treatment path for you as an individual. They have 2 locations, one here in downtown Nashville, and their newest office open in Cool Springs. The Tennessee Men's Clinic wants you to understand that while there may be negativity, frustration, or even emotions that cause you sadness around ED, they are there to help you through that process and to make sure that you can get back to performing like you haven't in years. So to find out more about their treatment plan, go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Welcome back to the show here on this Tuesday morning. We're happy to have you. The Pat Fitzgerald situation. I don't know why that name's so hard for me to say.
Pat Fitzgerald?
Pat Fitzgerald. Screwed it up both times now. Doesn't matter. He got fired. We were going to talk about this job yesterday, or this deal yesterday, that's going on with the Northwestern football program. But we said, this seems like it's an ongoing situation. Perhaps we'll be able to roll it over to Tuesday. Not that it's not a big enough news story at the time. We just had a lot of stuff going on a Monday. My particular question was for people, do people in Middle Tennessee and West... Are we back? What happened?
Karen on the F&M Bank chat says Bert got his revenge.
It's his fault. He just came in here. He probably tripped the wires on something.
Hit a button somewhere.
Okay, very good. We're back. What was I talking about? Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern football scandal. So at this point,
you were questioning Middle Tennessee's interest in this.
To talk about it on Monday. I know it's slower sports season, so maybe not spending time on Victor Wembanyama and Britney Spears. We didn't do that yesterday. We did that on Friday. But you understand my point,
It's the biggest story in college football.
It is now, because he got fired yesterday after we walked out of the studio. So, according to ESPN, a former Northwestern football player came forward with allegations of widespread hazing within the Northwestern football program on Sunday with the university's president. I believe Michael Schill is how the last name is pronounced. Who has been considering at that point harsher discipline for Coach Pat Fitzgerald, and it had continued their investigation. The university had been made aware of this for quite some time. The former player spoke to ESPN anonymously about the experience, saying much of what he witnessed was sexualized, which there's going to be a lot of complicated parts to this story. And I imagine more people are going to come forward with more details that are going to have to be worked through about the Northwestern football program at this point, because the allegations of hazing, and of course, given that the Titans' first-round pick just came from Northwestern, a senior leader on this team, unfortunately for Peter Skoronski, this is going to be a story that's talked about as soon as we all get back for Titans training camp. So they fire him yesterday, and in explaining their decision to fire football coach Pat Fitzgerald, they cited that the hazing was widespread and clearly not a secret within the program, because players from different years had at that point come forward after the initial anonymous disclosure by the former player to ESPN, citing similar situations that, maybe they thought were just something that they needed to get through at the time, not how significant or serious they were, because these are still very formative years, especially as a freshman in college. And at this point, they have said that 11 current or former players told investigators hazing had been ongoing. And he mentioned a new report from Monday where more former players confirmed hazing was systematic, dating back many years. Nudity, forced participation, and sexualized acts of a degrading nature were part of hazing.
Credit has to go, by the way, to the Daily Northwestern on this, the student newspaper at Northwestern, because the school initially suspended Pat Fitzgerald without pay for 2 weeks. That was last Friday that they did that. And that was just going to happen this summer. He was just going to not be able to go into work for 2 weeks this summer following the conclusion of a university-commissioned investigation into those allegations. The school initially said that the investigation, which was initiated, by the way, in January, did not find sufficient evidence that the coaching staff knew about ongoing hazing, though there were, quote, significant opportunities to find out about it. This is from the ESPN article. Then the school reversed course because the Daily Northwestern published a story detailing allegations from the former player who described very specific instances of hazing and sexual abuse. So they basically had to reboot the investigation, and ultimately Pat Fitzgerald gets fired. So a lot of this comes down to the student reporters at the Daily Northwestern.
Yeah, because the university got feedback from this independent investigation led by a former Illinois inspector general, and as Lucas said, found hazing claims, quote, largely supported by her evidence. So she did her job. She was commissioned to do an independent investigation, found things that were, clearly less than flattering for the university, and the university decided, no, we're good. 2-week suspension. And let's see if we can just slap him on the wrist. He is thought of as and he has been. I mean, I know Northwestern in the last couple of years has not achieved the level of success that you might connote with a successful football coach, but Northwestern under Pat Fitzgerald has had more success than Northwestern probably has any business having.
He is Northwestern football.
Correct.
They've had 5 10-win seasons in the history of their program. He's been a part of 4. As a player for 1, as a coach for 3. He had Northwestern playing in multiple Big Ten championship games, something that should be unthinkable for that program. So Pat Fitzgerald is the definition of Northwestern football. I don't know if there is a program around the country where the head coach means more to that Fitzgerald meant to Northwestern.
So according to the Daily Northwestern and their reporting, the player that came forward claimed that upperclassmen punished younger players who made mistakes in games and practices. The ritual was called running. It's a shocking experience as a freshman to see your fellow freshman teammates get ran. But then you see everybody bystanding in the locker room. It's just a really abrasive and barbaric culture that has permeated throughout the program for years on end at this point. More former players corroborated the claims with the Daily Northwestern. On Monday, the National College Players Association, which worked with Northwestern football players in an effort to unionize a couple years ago, if you remember. That was a big story before name, image, and likeness legislation was passed. Northwestern football players trying to unionize. They have now called for more investigations into the allegations of hazing and now allegations of racism that have also come out in the middle of this. So there's going to be a lot of information that's flying fast and furiously because this has been under the surface for as it's being reported years. So it's almost like a twist in a hose, right? In an outdoor hose. As soon as you untwist that thing, everything comes bursting out, and you're about to have a lot of stuff being thrown out there about Northwestern. Now somebody's going to be tasked, whether that's the NCAA, whether that's Northwestern and yet another internal investigation, although they clearly can't be trusted to handle their own internal investigations, or at least the feedback that they get from them. However this ultimately ends up getting resolved, I think, and we're going to have this conversation today, it is such an important, I don't want to say a good lesson, because what's happened to these players, a lot of people, I think, through different generations can identify problematic behavior that has happened to them in a locker room setting, right? We were talking about it off air during the break, we're not that far removed from high school. I had an 11-year anniversary because of COVID. We didn't have a 10-year. So I had an 11-year high school reunion anniversary. I remember there being problematic stuff in a high school football locker room all the time.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, we are not that far removed from this kind of stuff. And so when these situations happen, but it's covered up by winning, as you mentioned, you said 5 10-win seasons, 4 of which he's been a part of as a coach?
Yeah, 5 10-win seasons throughout the course of their history. I mean, what he did at Northwestern, he took over in 2006 as the head coach after being an assistant. He played in the 90s, was a great player for Northwestern. And how quickly he got them to the point of A, bowl eligibility, and then B, winning seasons. I mean, in year 2, they're 6-6. In year 3, they're 9-4. Then they're 8-5. In 2012, Northwestern goes 10-3. In 2017, they win 10 games. And then 2 of the next 3 years, in 18 and 20, they won their division. They're playing for conference championships in the Big Ten. Like, the most appropriate comparison to me for Northwestern's program is Vanderbilt. It's similar, I think, with the academic demands, with the conference that they're in, with being in a big city. Obviously, Northwestern, right next to Chicago, is a, that's a different situation than Vanderbilt being in Nashville. The biggest difference has been the commitment, the financial commitment by Northwestern with that insane football facility they built overlooking Lake Michigan. And there's work to be done on that stadium, but winning at Northwestern, what Pat Fitzgerald has done is insane. I mean, what he has been able to do winning with multiple 10-win seasons as a head coach. And then the last 2 years, it's petered out, like you said. 3-9 in 2021, 1-11 last year. They beat Nebraska in week 1 in Ireland, or week 0, I guess it was. And then they lose 11 in a row. So I wonder if we were heading towards a direction of, okay, at what point does Pat Fitzgerald not get that sort of granted, I don't know what the word would be, almost automatically renewed contract? Like, that is a guy that seemed unfireable at Northwestern. But for me, 11 straight losses after a week 0 win and back-to-back seasons where you can't get more than 3 wins, you're starting to trend in that direction. If it happened again this year at Northwestern, then I think we would have to start talking about them moving on from Pat Fitzgerald. But this certainly came out of nowhere.
Just the idea that, because what you've said is 100% correct, but the idea that winning football games, or in the case of Bob Huggins, basketball games, right? Like, I know they're not connected situations. One is I'm not going to do this by degrees, right? I'm not going to say that.
What's worse? Yeah,
that, right. I'm not going to do what it's not a poll question, right? Like, I'm not going to treat that. Now, I'm not going to do that, obviously, but we can't do that as a poll question. Point being, it goes to show you how much people and it's not just sports, although this is obviously the arena that we're dealing with, success, whether that's business success, financial success, athletic success, how much people are willing to cover up or mask that is wildly problematic behind the scenes if it just means, what, a 10-win football season in the Big Ten? Get the bleep out of here. I've seen some comments about, and listen, Peter Skoronski is a first-round pick out of Northwestern this year. And I've seen the chat immediately start making jokes, some of you making jokes to the effect of, whatever you want to. I think it's even irresponsible to repeat some of the jokes that are being made. There is one comment, though, that I think is worth reading in the F&M Bank chat from Chad Casual. He said that the chat needs to stop connecting Skoronski to this, not even as a joke. It's totally irresponsible because some idiot will take it and run with it. Well, one, you are correct. There is no reason to connect him other than that is the university that he went to. He will be asked questions. His answers, you can determine whatever you want to from his answers, but he is going to have to answer questions about this, understandably so. You got former players out there anonymously, and it's unfortunate for Peter, whatever the case may be, if that he's not going to get the shield of that anonymity. But there are other players in the league from Northwestern who are going to be answering this question all across the league, because if it goes back years, it's a part of a culture. And if that part of the culture is because that football coach is, as you said, Northwestern football, then the systemic issue is something that's gone. I mean, I'm sure that's been something that's been in practice since Pat Fitzgerald was a player or something similar, right? I mean, I don't want to draw connections recklessly, but those are safe assumptions to make.
There are also players, not so anonymously, taking to social media to, support Pat Fitzgerald, which is not a surprise. Pat Fitzgerald's been the head coach of Northwestern for a very long time. They've had a lot of success there, and it was thought of as one of the best cultures in all of college football. But players also slamming Northwestern administrators for the way that they were communicating this news to the football team. Let's see, Peyton Warford, a Northwestern player, on Twitter, quoting his teammate, Charlie Mangieri, who tweeted, "To zoom in to make a statement like this and leave before allowing time for questions has me baffled. Terrible." Peyton Warford tweeted, "Dr. Gragg and President Schill directly addressing Northwestern administrators. Hope vacation is treating you well. Next time you fire a head coach, make an effort for at least one of you to be there. Goes a long way." So the way that the university has handled this from start to finish has been an abomination.
Well,
at every level.
No. You know what it is? It's corporate America. I mean, that is the way that layoffs are done at major entities. People are brought in on Zoom calls. We don't work in that space necessarily. We're more in the space of you do a show on a Friday and you don't end up here on a Monday if they're ready to get rid of you. Because, understandably, they don't want people to know with microphones in front of their face that their time is coming to an end soon. It's completely fair. But in many, many other elements of life, that is the most corporate, efficient, effective, machine-like approach. You sever the head and move on. That's what they're trying to do here. This is why things like name, image, and likeness protections are so important. It's why Northwestern players tried to unionize. It's because they are working in corporate America, but their bodies are being sacrificed in a much different way because of the nature of the sport that they play, in particular football, other sports as well. You are working in one of the most corporate entities, cold-blooded entities, profitable entities that there is. And you're going to be handled as such, even though you don't have the same protections. That's the lesson. That's one of the lessons from this story to me. The bigger takeaway, honestly, is you don't know anything about your favorite football teams or your favorite basketball teams, your favorite athletes. More often than not, whatever is presented to you publicly, what's going to be cited? Other than now this is going to be what's most associated with Pat Fitzgerald moving forward, but what was it previously? 10-win seasons all over the place at Northwestern, a football program that has no business. He's a winner. He's somebody to look up to, somebody to aspire to, somebody who I'm sure is paid to do things like leadership talks at various things. This is somebody who's responsible for shaping culture. And anytime you toss out words like culture, you have no idea what the hell that means unless you're in that building. And more often than not, it's to me, there is such a repressive nature to these things because if you are the person responsible, that's why these players are initially doing it anonymously. They're scared of what the blowback's going to be because I'm sure the people that were responsible for hazing them are looking at that as you broke the code of silence. You're not one of us. Out, you cast out, right? That's not something that's easy to do. Whistleblowers in, various different professional settings. That's what this is. Those people aren't celebrated. Those people are dragged. Those people don't get to live normal lives after this. And I'm talking about on things, this is a serious situation, but I'm talking about things on a much larger scale of even just, reporting instances of hazing in a football locker room over the course of years.
It's just who this is happening. I won't say happening to, but who this is happening around is what is most surprising about all of this. Like Pat Fitzgerald is one of those coaches that you would say if you didn't know who this happened to, you'd say, okay, well, it's not him, right? He would be pushed over into a section of coaches that you say, well, it's not Saban, it's not Pat Fitzgerald, it's not Dabo, right? I mean, top to bottom, for a program like Northwestern to have the sustained success that they have had, the perception has always been, well, the culture has to be top to bottom one of the most aligned and consistent in all of college football. There's no other way to win at Northwestern. You're not winning because you have better players. That's not happening. And they have had the benefit of being in the Big Ten West and not having to deal with the likes of Michigan and Ohio State to get to the Big Ten championship game, but still unprecedented success time and time again, not flashes in the pan under Pat Fitzgerald. When you talk about team versus program, they have been a program over the years, and it's tailed off, but still that sustained success at a place where it is so hard to win consistently in the Big Ten. That's what makes this so shocking, that this is who this story is about.
I just think we have to reassess what you define as culture.
Right, exactly. It tells you, okay, we have no clue what's happening in these locker rooms.
And some of you do. I'm sure there's a good percentage of the audience, while, Lucas and I have not played high-level collegiate athletics, at least to the best of my knowledge. Jackson, you either? Okay, very good.
Just shakes his head.
So, of course, our experience is likely petered out in high school,
yes,
or intramural But yeah,
Where things like this happen, by the way, at my high school, and I'm sure hundreds of high schools around the country.
Absolutely.
But when I was a freshman and I played freshman football, the seniors would make freshmen wrestle and fight each other in the locker room, and a kid ran his head into the wall and was unconscious. They had to call an ambulance. He had a severe concussion, had to wear a neck brace for multiple weeks. The school launched a giant hazing investigation and unveiled all sorts of things that I am not going to bring to these airwaves. That happened at my high school.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine some of the things that are happening at high schools around the country and college football programs around the country, even when at the forefront on the outside, you think the culture there is pristine. The culture is the best thing about that program. That is what many, many people would say about Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern over the years.
People use culture like it's inherently a good thing. And what I think this is proving is that it can provide results. The results may be beneficial. The means, the process to get them there is the thing that might be, rotting on the inside or causing these problems. The things that can be systemic in a way. I mean, I'm sure some of these guys, whatever happened to them, or people who deal with injuries like you're talking about, concussions or things of that nature, like physical or mental abuse, that there are ramifications for individuals for years beyond that. You have no kind of concept of how little you know, right? Of how little we all know. And I think there are unfortunate stories that manifest themselves, whether it be through sports or society or whatever the case may be, that are example of this time and time again. And then at some point, I think those lessons would hit a little harder. I mean, the thing that this immediately reminds me of is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, model citizen. By all accounts, by everybody who had come into contact, role model in the community, star athlete. What did Dabo call him? Michael Jordan. Some team is passing on Michael Jordan. All these different things. We left out the part about being a sexual predator. 615-737-1045 is the number. We can get to your phone calls on this coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. We're going to get to what in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend here in just a second. We're taking your reaction, though, to the Pat Fitzgerald firing at Northwestern. Allegations, widespread allegations from multiple generations of Northwestern football players describing a toxic culture involving a lot of hazing, a lot of it sexualized in nature. There have been allegations of racism. Those things are being investigated all now by the university, who had it investigated the first time around and chose to give him a 2-week suspension instead of taking actual action. Let's go to Frying Pan up next. What's happening, Frying Pan?
Hey, Buck. Hey, Lucas. Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Great.
Good. Hey, when you bring up the term hazing, that doesn't usually strike me as a term you would use for football-related stuff. Being in a fraternity in college, the hazing term got thrown around quite a bit. And, not saying that the hazing doesn't happen. I mean, I played high school football, and I played in an era, in the 90s where, the seniors and juniors would kind of ask freshmen to do stuff. But more so where I went to high school, it was like if you played football, other non-football players in the high school couldn't mess with you. Because, they'd say fresh meat, put you in a trash can, blah, blah, blah. But, like, the juniors and seniors on the football team would say, if you mess with my freshman football player, you're going in the trash can. But anyhow, it's just it's crazy in today's society that with all the eyeballs out there and people knowing stuff and smartphones, that something like this would happen. It's very unfortunate. And I believe it's going to be really ugly when all the details spill out. But that's all I got. Appreciate taking my call.
Thank you for the call. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more to come. All right, Jackson, give me the music.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
615-737-1045. What in sports made you say, oh, no, this weekend? We got bowling tickets to give away. I forgot that we had bowling tickets to give away. Bowling is this Thursday. You should be there. 1045thezone.com is where you go to pick up your tickets. But if you can't get them online because they're selling fast, we got a pair to give to you. What in sports made you say, oh, no, this weekend? All right, I'm going to go to the world of USA basketball. Paolo Banchero, it's a last name that I get scared of. It's because I felt like he spelled Paulo differently, and I get scared of Paolo, and then Banchero catches me up. Either
Very
way.
Italian.
It's very Italian. Not so Italian, though, that he would play for the Italian national basketball team. The statement put out by the Italian basketball president is hilarious because he's the forward for the Orlando Magic. He verbally committed to playing for the Italian national team last year, but now ESPN and The Athletic are reporting that he will instead play for Team USA at the FIBA World Cup, which is coming up. So the Italian Basketball Federation is furious. They are calling it a betrayal. Quote, betrayal, especially in basketball, is a strong word. By the way, as somebody who is from that part of the world, Egypt, Italy, Greece, Mediterranean, we're a very dramatic, I feel like, part of the world. This is very Italian.
Oh, I'm picturing it. I'm picturing it because it's translated, right? This is not a statement in English.
Correct.
Like, this is
translated
from Italian.
statement.
So I am very much picturing him saying this with very aggressive motions.
Betrayal, especially in basketball, is a strong word. Situations like this happen, and personally, I'm used to it. But he fooled us. We were planning a great commercial strategy for him. The president of the Italian Basketball Federation, Gianni Pertucci, said to an Italian publication on Sunday. So Banchero's father is Italian, of Italian descent. He himself is a dual citizen and a native of Seattle. So it's like Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo, and I can't remember what nationality he is, but he could play for a team that's not Team USA. He is instead chosen to play for Team USA. It's just the whole situation. I mean, I understand what he's doing there, but like the oh no for me in this whole thing is it would be getting this message from the Italian president of the Basketball Federation and just feeling the scorching indictment of those words and picturing, yes, those very, very visible hand motions.
Yes. It's funny because if Paolo Banchero didn't sign anything, right, then he has the right to do whatever he wants. And if he wants to play for the country where he was born and raised, then he has the right to do that. So it is funny to me saying we were bamboozled, hoodwinked in a way, because Paolo Banchero had just initially expressed his interest to play for Italy. But I do think that's funny. As someone that, if had any semblance of athletic ability, could technically represent Italy or Brazil in any international competition, I hate the idea of people ripping players because they choose to go play for X country that they're a dual citizen for instead of the country they were born and raised in. Like, no, you were born in America. You will only represent America. But if that's your best opportunity, then go do that to represent a country where you have heritage and you're proud of that, etc. But for Paolo Banchero, if he has an actual opportunity to play for Team USA, the best international basketball team in the world, then Paolo Banchero should take that opportunity.
Yeah, the commercial strategy is going to benefit Italy or the Italian Basketball Federation more than it's going to benefit Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, and emotional people, but that's okay.
What's yours?
My oh no of the weekend, speaking of culture in college football, I'm sure Georgia is very happy about all this Northwestern stuff going on because July 7th, this story from Chris Lowe of ESPN, Georgia freshman linebacker cited for going 88 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. The Georgia football team's spate of speeding-related incidents, says Lowe, continued this week when freshman outside linebacker Samuel Impemba was ticketed Wednesday morning for going 88 miles per hour in a 55. Impemba's speeding citation occurred about an hour before Georgia receiver Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint appeared in an Athens courtroom to plead guilty to driving 90 miles per hour in a 45 on May 23rd on Atlanta Highway. A reckless driving charge against Rosemy-Jacksaint was dismissed as part of the plea. He spent an hour in jail after being arrested in May. What is going on here? This is insane.
They have a drag racing problem.
I've never seen anything like this.
They have a. It is really. I mean, it's really bizarre. I can't think of another instance where there has been this big of a commonality between one football program and the thing that their players continue to get popped for.
It's crazy. It's crazy how rampant this is. It's such a specific thing to be doing that's just widespread across the football program.
And it's like one of the dumbest things that you can do. Honestly, like if you're talking about things that you could do that you would get some kind of, I don't know if they're getting a rush out of going 88 and a 55. Like, I don't know if that's getting it right. You're not even going 100 miles an hour. Like, I don't know if that, you think that's a big deal? Like, of all the things that you could do to get like a head rush, it's just the dumbest thing in the world to be ripping down the streets of a small place like Athens, Georgia, even though you are a football player and you're likely going to get the benefit of a doubt in some situations. Like, this is the thing that is the most, I just think it's one of the dumbest infractions that you could have.
Take their keys away.
Please, honestly.
You have lost the privilege to drive. Just put a big bucket in the locker room, and the next time Georgia players are coming into the locker room, drop your keys in the bucket. You get them back when we say so.
Malik Willis, truther on the F&M Bank chat, says they're taking that NIL money right to the dealership for that Hellcat. I mean, that was Isaiah Wilson's problem. Love the Hellcats. They love them. What's yours? Well, actually, quickly, 615-737-1045. The best oh no gets a pair of the bowling tickets to the charity bowling event coming up this Thursday at Kings Bowl in Cool Springs, our charity bowling effort that you can get tickets for if you don't win them here today at 1045thezone.com. Jackson, what made you say oh no?
It's this Victor Wembanyama, Britney Spears situation. And not for the fact, like, it happened, it was an accident, but the fact that it was Britney Spears and all of the attention that was brought to it and the way, just the whole situation. It was awful.
Do you know the bigger oh no involving Britney Spears this weekend is that they were all at the same restaurant in Las Vegas, and apparently Pauly Shores was also at this restaurant. You know who Pauly Shore is, either of you?
Yes.
Pauly Shore was seated at a table with his belongings at a table, a very nice table, and got up to go to the bathroom. The restaurant then seated Britney Spears and her entire party at Pauly Shore's table and forgot that they had seated Pauly Shore there. I read that on TMZ this week.
What a time. What a time.
615-737-1045. We'll get your phone calls on what made you say, oh no, in sports this week. Coming up next.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. This week in college football, Northwestern has fired head coach Pat Fitzgerald amid allegations of hazing within the football program. Fitzgerald had been the head coach at his alma mater since 2006. Defensive coordinator David Braun will step in as the acting head coach. Major League Baseball, the 2023 Home Run Derby champion is Vlad Guerrero Jr., defeating Randy Arozarena in the final round. It's Guerrero Jr.'s first Home Run Derby title, following in the footsteps of his father, Hall of Famer Vlad Guerrero Sr., becoming the first father-son duo to be Home Run Derby champions. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What is happening? Welcome into 104.5 The Zones. Lovely to have you here. We got Jackson. We got Lucas. Bert's here for some reason. I'm stuck with you till 1 o'clock. You're stuck with me, rather, until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'd be happy to have you. We're taking your calls on the thing that made you say, oh no, in sports this weekend. If you give us the best one, we'll send you to the Split Happens Bowling Bash to benefit Home Street Home. Our charity bowling event coming up this Thursday, July the 13th at Kings Bowl in Cool Springs. Going to have a lot of fun guests hanging out with us, and you can have the opportunity to beat them in bowling for a good cause. 1045thezone.com is where you go for those tickets. We'll go to the phones here in a second. Bert came scrambling in here because he had one to submit. I'm honestly shocked that I don't want to steal anybody's submission, but I can tell who among us did not watch the Home Run Derby last night, given that there was not an oh-no submission from the Home Run Derby among us. Go ahead, Bert.
Okay, so Giants fans are taking to Twitter, and they are tattletaling. They are tattletaling on former Giants wide receiver Kadarius Toney. They are upset because the majority of the time he was in New York, he was hurt. I'm doing air quotes. He was hurt. He was not playing. But then miraculously, when he's traded to Kansas City, he can all of a sudden play and look like the player he was when the Giants drafted him. So Giants fans are plundering Kadarius Toney's DMs, coming in there telling him, you miss Daniel Jones, don't you? Which is hilarious. That's like you breaking up with an ugly girl and then dating, who's the chick in Barbie? What's her name?
Oh, Margot Robbie.
It's like getting with Margot Robbie. It's like, you miss your ugly girlfriend, don't you? No, I do not. She is very gorgeous to me. I have no problem hanging out with my girlfriend.
It sounds like you're working through some things.
Anyway,
Don't be slamming Danny Dimes now.
Look, okay, Vanilla Vic. I have nothing disparaging to say about Vanilla Vic. But listen, so they're in his.
So gratuitous how you just wanted to use that nickname over and over.
I did. That is an oh no right there. But they're coming into Kadarius's DMs and they're saying, hey, you miss Danny Dimes. You wish you were still in New York. You're eating bad barbecue in Kansas City. And everyone is posting these DMs, which is my number 2 oh no. If you're going to have the gall to come in somebody's DMs and be like, hey, you're fat. When they come back and say, like, hey, well, you're ugly, don't post the DM and be like, why is he so mean? Why is he coming at us? Because as Charles Barkley said, none of these guys are role models. None of these guys are here to be your friend. And it's the same way. If you DM me telling me, hey, you're not funny, you're fat, I would probably say some mean things to you, too. Oh, no. Like, just because you're telling the truth to me doesn't mean I can't be offended. So, to all the people that, if you want to hop
Did somebody get in your DMs?
No, I honestly don't even read them. The only DMs I read... The only DMs that I read are from you aggregating the same news story that Lucas and I have put into the DM 2 hours prior.
Oh, I'm sorry. The exact same thing you did to Jackson with the top 10 pass rushers list the other day?
Now I do that as a joke.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah. When I see...
Just drown him in it, Jackson.
I hate this drop so much. I hate this segment.
I'm sorry. Have we found something that annoys you, that flusters you, that knocks you off your point of trajectory?
I feel like Jackson with the oh no drop is like when somebody learns a new word that they like and they just use it in every sentence. I feel like that's what is happening right now. Like, I feel like you just learned that word yesterday.
I was
now you
waiting
just say
for
it
the
out.
drop.
Yeah, now he's got you shook. Well done.
Okay, so finally,
Keep him off balance.
my oh no.
This is the longest oh no in the history of the show.
Well, you won't let me get to it. You won't let me get Dadgummit, man. That's what this is. Instead of oh no, it needs to be dadgummit. Dadgummit to the people that are in DMs and then complaining about the mean things people say back.
But also, Kadarius Toney. Just don't respond.
Nah, man.
Just don't respond.
I can't have it. Nah, if I'm in a place of power, if I'm the one who has the upper hand, I have no problem punching down.
You have access to my Twitter. I mean,
Ooh, I do. I could be DMing those people. Hold on.
I mean, you don't want the smoke from those people. The people who are not comfortable sending me the things that they're comfortable sending me on Twitter, like that, those people you don't want to mess with. I think on a regular basis.
The risk reward, though. The risk reward of some idiot on Twitter sliding into your DMs and saying a bunch of things that he desperately wants to get a reaction out of you for so that he can post and get all of the clout for it. Like, what is the risk reward of hitting back with saying whatever vulgar things and going back at him and just getting in this back and forth with him? Like, you benefit none from that. He benefits completely from it.
And that's I mean, I think that's a big part of that. People are just looking for a reaction. They don't actually get, like, they may not even mean the thing that they're saying to you. It's just meant to be so outrageous as to invoke a reaction.
Like this. Like, oh, you're going to go play for Pat Mahomes? Yeah, I bet you missed Daniel Jones.
You couldn't even say it.
This is that example of saying a ridiculous thing.
This is literally the most ridiculous thing. That's right. You remember me tweeting a picture of the cat one time and some dude just responding, yeah, I bet he's not a flaming lib like you. Like just like out there specifically. No, sir, the cat is not a flaming lib. You are correct.
No, I believe the word was liberal twerp.
Liberal. No, I've also got liberal twerp there. I get those often.
Quite the opposite, because when I picked your mail up, the voter registration for both your cats came in, and it was surprising to me to see a split party where it was a Republican and a Democrat.
How long have you been waiting? How long has he been?
He hit the TV.
There's a TV there.
Which one's the Democrat?
People can see you on camera. You literally.
Is Frank or Leo the Democrat?
It's definitely Leo.
It's so ungraceful. I can't get out of the shadows anymore.
This is why you can't be in here. It's a much better bit when I actually can't see you and you're just something that emerges and goes back to I think he tripped. Trying to get down there. Crawl out of here. I'm going to turn my camera on him just to watch him crawl out of the studio. You're embarrassing. Fred is up next for the opportunity to win some tickets to Thursday's Bowling Bash at Kings Bowl in Cool Springs. What made you say, oh no, this week, Fred?
Hey, guys. I was going to say, my oh no, there's also an oh good in there as well. For baseball, you got Ellie De La Cruz. I can say his name. I can't get it right or not.
De La Cruz.
But De La Cruz. He steals 3 bases. I mean, that's fantastic for him. Somebody had done it since the 1920s in the first inning. But for the Milwaukee Brewers, man, that's a oh no for me. How do you let somebody steal 3 bases in 1 inning? That's a oh no for me.
It's a good one. Thanks for the call. I thought for sure he's going to not. You not see the kid who got smoked in the face with the line drive last night?
I did. Yes. It was Guerrero Jr., right?
Yeah.
Who won the home run derby.
En route to hitting. I mean, I think he set the record last night.
72. Yes.
Every single home run last night they posted. It's 15 minutes. 15 minutes of Vlad Guerrero Jr. just hitting home run after home run after home run.
First father-son duo to both win the home run derby. His dad, the senior, did it years back.
Coming up next, there is this series that Netflix is getting ready to debut. It's called Quarterback, and it features a former Titans first-round pick. We're going to get into the level of intrigue around this Netflix documentary coming up next. There's nothing better than the PhD weight loss program. It has been such an incredibly effective process in helping me get my life back on track. I was way overweight, 248 at 6'2". That was a wildly unhealthy weight for me to be at. It had been because of the pandemic. It had been difficult for me to kind of get myself back on track, and PhD Weight Loss gave me the tools that I needed to succeed. They came up with a schedule that was specifically focused on my day-to-day that helped me be able to prioritize my healthy eating habits no matter what my situation is. You guys know I travel a lot with the Titan schedule, particularly on the road. You know that I'm in a lot of hotels, in a lot of press boxes, a lot of opportunities to ruin that dietary plan and that dietary process that we had set out to achieve. The plan that PhD Weight Loss made it put together for me made it so easy, and they can do the same for you. 54 pounds is what I was able to lose, and they have a great guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. To get your process started today, go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Jackson is back there waving his cell phone flashlight like a lighter. Do people even wave lighters anymore? Or is it just the cell phone flashlights?
No. Robert does.
Well, it's because Robert's the only person that I can rely on for a lighter on a regular basis. What is this? What am I listening to?
I'm Evolve for life, y'all.
Why am I listening to this?
He shrugged.
That's helpful on a live radio broadcast. Thank you for that. I think that so we were talking about this. Our buddy Thomas Edwards is going to come in studio on Thursday. Former volunteer offensive lineman. I think the last time Thomas was in here was when Josh Dobbs was actively
Georgia Week
antagonizing the Georgia football fan base with a clip from our show that went viral across the Georgia football ecosystem because Dobbs was saying Sanford Stadium was not that loud. And then it was very loud all of a sudden. And Georgia and Tennessee not quite on the same footing at that point in the season. But we were talking about this because Thomas has written a song about what it is to play for Tennessee football and to run through the T and all these different things. And I was talking a little smack. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was talking a little smack. I said, "Is it super homerific? Is it gonna make me angry?" Because I love Thomas. I love him to death. But if it's super hokey homer, then I don't know necessarily that I'm going to be down. But you both looked at me and said, no, you have to hear this song that is the ultimate flag-waving, orange-colored glasses VFL song.
Yeah, Thomas at least is speaking from personal experiences as a kid growing up in Kingsport with the dream of playing for Tennessee football and then achieving that dream. This one leans all the way in.
What's
Matt Stillwell?
What's the I want
the artist.
What's the rapper's name? What's the rapper's name? The guy that does the rap videos in the back of his car on his way to Vol tailgates. Who is that guy? J. Martin Ramone used to have him on a regular basis.
I haven't a clue.
Oh, okay.
VFL swag or something like that?
Yeah, him. You know, Lucas would know who I'm talking about. Lucas has seen this individual before.
Oh, that guy's pretty problematic, I think.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah. I think that guy's had some pretty
maybe that's
pretty
why
tough legal issues.
Oh, okay. I was not aware. Maybe copyright issues. Who's to say?
Probably worse than that.
Not copyright issues on the Netflix program Quarterback, which is getting ready to debut. Promotional content being put out there. A 4.5-minute trailer. Inside look of three active quarterbacks in the NFL. It's narrated and hosted by Peyton Manning, as Manning continues to expand the Omaha Films empire at this point. Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, and Patrick Mahomes coming off a Super Bowl championship season. So it's going to track the lives of these three quarterbacks through a season in, very different stages of their three respective careers. Patrick Mahomes is a now 2-time Super Bowl champion. This documents his progress through what would be another Super Bowl winning season. Marcus Mariota, who's in, a journeyman phase at this point of his career. He's now been on 3 NFL teams. His starting status, he's not a starting quarterback. He's not on a roster.
Yes, he is. He is the backup quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles.
No.
You don't remember this?
When did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, Marcus is in Philly. Marcus will back up Jalen Hurts, which honestly...
Oh, my God, I love that.
That works, right?
No, that's exactly
what makes a ton of sense.
That's exactly. People wanted Chip Kelly here in Tennessee for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Why?
No,
Why do I not remember that?
It makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, I hope that works for him.
Yeah, so he's on his fourth franchise.
Okay, so 4th NFL franchise. I can't. That's a huge news item for me to have missed.
I am shocked that he did.
I can't. Was
We
I on
definitely
vacation that
talked
week?
about
What
this.
happened? We had to have,
It was
right?
in March. He signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with Philadelphia.
I'm sure we talked about that. There's
We
no way.
definitely did.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
completely
we
put it out of my
talked.
mind.
We had this conversation about that being the perfect situation for Marcus, where you're not needed week in and week out, and you talk about a guy that can step in for Jalen Hurts with a similar skill set for 1 to 2 games. It's a perfect situation.
I will say this offseason, I have shut the football out of my life more than, other than the DeAndre Hopkins story that I'm contractually obligated to follow.
That's comforting for the audience to hear.
Well, I'm just be honest. it's my offseason too, kids.
I'll be honest, guys, I haven't been really paying attention.
No, I was at the time in March, but since July hit, I'm just saying, I'm in off-season mode, babe. I think that's funny. I think that the situation for this So I had a lot of people bring this up to me because the promo was released. In fact, we have a little bit of Peyton Manning talking about this, right? Talking about his biases as a quarterback, narrating the quarterback documentary series about these 3 different quarterbacks. He was not still in the league when Mahomes was a rookie, was he? Has Pat been in the league?
Peyton,
2015. I think Mahomes maybe a year behind Alex Smith.
I think Mahomes got in right after Peyton's retirement, right after winning that Super Bowl.
That's incredible. Anyway, this is Peyton Manning talking about the new Netflix documentary series, Quarterback.
And in 2022, that list included these 3. Marcus Mariota.
Hey, you get one opportunity a week. Let's put it all together for 4 quarters.
Kirk Cousins.
I got 3 words for you.
You like that?
And Patrick Mahomes.
This is what I do. This is what I do.
Now, these are 3 very different players.
Let's go. Golly.
Each in very different situations. But they all have one common goal. To lead their team to a Super Bowl victory.
I love going to war with you guys, man.
And during the 2022 season, they allowed unprecedented access to capture that quest.
So, okay. I had a lot of people bringing this up to me on primetime on Sunday night. Like, are you interested? Can't you wait to see this? And, my response was similar to the one that I just gave about Marcus Mariota and Phil. It's like, it's the offseason. I've got 15 days without football. Don't tell me that I need to drown myself in more football. Because I was looking at it, selfishly, shocking to no one. But also, like, I covered Marcus's entire career here. Marcus Mariota is one of the most intentionally uninteresting human beings that I've ever come across in my life. He should be wildly more interesting than he is, or that he sets out to be. He probably is in private moments, again, speaking to the idea of you don't actually know your favorite football players or favorite athletes or anything about what goes on really inside your favorite teams. But, like, am I that interested in Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota? I feel like I get plenty of Patrick Mahomes coverage. This I know it's like Hard Knocks. I'm not the target demo for Hard Knocks. We're not the target demo for Hard Knocks, to be honest with you, because we're at every training camp practice, right? So I don't want to be jaded because of it. But, like, is this something that people are interested in?
It looks really good, I will say. It looks really well done. There are a lot of inside looks at, their family life, not just their football life. And the 3 situations, it is an interesting collection, isn't it? Mahomes, Cousins, Mariota.
They did well to find players at every stage of the starting quarterback kind of trajectory, right?
All these guys had completely different seasons. Mahomes, obviously, Super Bowl winning campaign with the ankle injury that he had to battle through. Cousins had a really nice year, a great regular season in Minnesota, obviously flamed out in the playoffs. And then Marcus, with everything that happened at the end there in Atlanta, ultimately not being with the team at the end of the season. So the way that those 3 kind of split off throughout the course of the 2022 season, I think can be really interesting to document. And this may be more that we see from Marcus than we have at any point in his NFL career.
Buddy, I remember specifically one of the most, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I remember being at Logan Ryan's charity event. He did like a really cool thing at the Bell Tower a couple of years. He was smart. He invited media and for a free food, free drink type of event. Okay, real smart guy, Logan Ryan. And he also invited players, and he had a situation set up where players who were attending could do a little bit of media. Marcus was there to support. Now, Marcus, famously, wildly private, right? Not a social media person. He was the first. In fact, I remember when Mike Vrabel got hired, I was thinking to myself, and I'm sure we said it out loud in some form or fashion, like, is Mike Vrabel and Marcus Mariota the only combination of coach and quarterback where the coach is on social media and the quarterback's not? Like, he is somebody who is so intensely, like, removed from that I know that the Titans struggled with him sometimes to get him to allow them access to certain things. You remember they did like a 3-part? They tried this. The Titans tried this with Marcus. They went back to Hawaii with him and pitched it as this whole, like, hey, we're going to let you inside our quarterback's life. And it was just a couple of shots from his golf tournament because he wouldn't let them do anything. I remember people being very frustrated internally with Marcus Mariota because it was even that private to that extent. Now, he could do with a good bit of good PR at this stage. So from that standpoint, from a business standpoint, to get people back and reinvested in Marcus Mariota for a season, it's not the worst idea. But like, Marcus doing a Netflix documentary special is wild to me. Again, this Logan Ryan thing, we asked him about his dogs. We I think Kayla was there. Kayla Anderson, she was working for News 2 at the time. She was asking him questions about his dogs. He was like flop sweating. He looked publicly uncomfortable with having to disclose any information about something as simple as dogs, his dogs, at a charity designed to raise money for what was Logan Ryan's foundation called? RARF, Ryan Animal Rescue Foundation, I think. Anyway.
And this is like, from the trailer, like you're talking about his home life, like clips of him with his girlfriend, things that we have never seen with Marcus. So yeah, it is interesting that this was the moment that this happens at this point in his career. I
guess for me, like Kirk Cousins, I mean, for most people, it would be like putting Ryan Tannehill on there. Like Ryan Tannehill nationally is not going to move the Q rating, right? Kirk Cousins is kind of that same, like, Kirk Cousins, okay, he grills weird-looking meats, and he says you like that, and what is there beyond Kirk Cousins? And, maybe you find out he's sneaky jacked. Maybe, like, if that's the most... Because you watched the promo, right?
Yep.
It's him reading a football for dummies rule book to his child.
Yeah.
In a
bedtime stories is like...
Bedtime stories with Kirk Cousins is him reading the NFL rule book.
It's about like the evolution of rule changes to protect quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, it's and so like this is the thing that I think we get caught up because like my barometer for this is who is the greatest quarterback in the history of the sport? Tom Brady. Is Tom Brady interesting? He's a hell of a lot more interesting now. Now, he's certainly in his Tampa Bay trajectory interesting, but like as a person, to get to know more about Tom Brady, beyond TB12, beyond the doctor that's not a doctor, beyond, whatever he's doing to his hairline and his lack of wrinkles at his age, like, is Tom Brady an interesting person?
Yes.
I struggle with that. I'm in awe of Tom Brady and his accomplishments that inherently makes him interesting.
Right, exactly.
But as a person, I don't find Tom Brady, like, the personality of Tom Brady is not something that I'm interested in. It just doesn't seem to be much there. Besides, he's going to post an underwear thirst trap on Instagram to try and get a little more social media traction. I like that he's a bit of a troll with the Hulu commercial. Remember that in the Super Bowl a couple years ago?
Tom Brady became interesting when he went to Tampa Bay.
Sure.
As far as everything outside of football.
But more interesting. Like, Cam Newton is an interesting person. You know what I'm saying? But Cam Newton is not as accomplished as Tom Brady. Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, even Patrick Mahomes, like, are they that interesting of people? Are you just there to kind of point and laugh at his little brother because of everything that's going on around Patrick Mahomes' little brother right now?
Why is Cam Newton interesting? Because he types with weird fonts and wears like different crazy hats?
He's got an outsized personality. His background is fascinating. Everything that got Cam Newton to where he is, in the same way that Tom Brady's trajectory is fairly interesting, the way that he became Tom Brady.
Pat Mahomes' trajectory is fascinating.
But beyond that, like the way that Cam is publicly comfortable voicing his opinions in a way that Tom Brady has never been, right? And so that, I think, in a way that you think you know more about these people than you actually do, that social media allows you access, but it's not real access into who they are. I think I get more transparency. People point and laugh at Cam all the time because he says ridiculous things. That's honest to God how Cam Newton feels. I don't doubt that. I find Cam Newton as a person to be more interesting than I would Tom Brady.
The production of this thing makes it look interesting. And people want to get to know these guys regardless of if they're interesting people or not. Pat Mahomes could be the most boring person on planet Earth. People want to get a look inside the life of Pat Mahomes because of who he is as a player and what they watch every weekend with the Chiefs. You don't have to be an interesting person for people to be interested. And on top of that, the production looks really well done and really inside baseball, so to speak. And that's going to attract people. Like,
oh, sure.
What Drive to Survive did for Formula One and raising the interest in that sport in the U.S. And maybe that's a bad example because it seems as though each and every one of those drivers are interesting and backstabbing and emotional people, and that's inherently interesting. But regardless, the platform that these guys are on, people want to get to know them, no matter if they're interesting or not.
But they're not actually getting. My contention is they're not actually getting to know them. You're getting sold something.
It's just entertainment. That's all it is.
No, I know, but I want more than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that. It drowns my entire life. The entertainment of just like surface level of what they are. Like, I'm there for the football. Make no mistake, we are all there for the football. Anything that you get beyond that is exactly what you're saying. Yes, it is. But like the Derek Jeter documentary, the 30 for 30 on Derek Jeter that ESPN did. Did you learn anything about? Did you watch that?
I didn't watch that.
Okay, no. Well, baseball is a bad example. Did you learn anything concretely about Michael Jordan? Like now, I'm trying to find a better example for us because generationally, like, how much of Jordan do you actually remember as a player?
Oh, hardly.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we are born in the 90s. Michael Jordan was at his height.
Yeah.
Basically before our formative years.
Yeah.
So, but even the man in the arena thing, Tom Brady's done this. Nobody was talking about it because all it is a Tom Brady infomercial. Like, I don't want a Marcus Mariota infomercial. I know what that looks like. Am I actually learning anything about these players? The reason why I cite HBO did a 2-part series on Tiger Woods that did not involve Tiger Woods, and I think it's the best possible product that they could have done because Tiger Woods didn't have say-so on what got out there and what didn't.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this as let's tune in to learn and watch a program about Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, where I think the point of this production is let's look at what it's like to be a quarterback in the National Football League. Like, I think that is the entire point of this, and no matter who you put in there, people are going to be interested in that. It's not about Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota. It's about being a quarterback in the NFL at different levels and a behind-the-scenes look at that.
I'm more willing, and maybe I'm sure I'll end up watching it. Right? Like, I'm sure it'll end up being a discussion, and I think Marcus is definitely a good enough hook for us to pay attention to it locally. But on the initial outset, like that many people seem to be that interested. When I'm looking around and being like, you already have Hard Knocks, you want more of this stuff? Like, it's just the same. It's the same notes, right? They're playing the same notes. So maybe Netflix is going to do something different, and maybe I'll be more impressed, or maybe I've set my expectations low enough to where I will enjoy what it is that they're trying to produce here. Russell on the F&M Bank chat says, what would you rather us watch, Buck? Another boring Netflix or HBO series? We love football, of course. We want more content. Listen, if this is your bag, baby, go. You got it. You got it. Nobody's stopping you from this. But like, if I'm making content decisions, and I understand that I'm coming at this from a different place as the vast majority of you, yeah, I'm probably not going to seek this thing out. Goody calling us from Rochester up next. What's happening?
Hey, guys. So I have another oh no from the home run derby last night. So after Vlad won, they're interviewing him, and they put up a graphic that says Vlad Guerrero Jr., second Cuban-born home run derby champion. There's 2 problems. 1, he was born in Canada. And 2, he's Dominican, not Cuban. So some ESPN graphics guy probably got in trouble.
Not ideal. No. Oh, no. A late submission for oh no. Thank you, Goody. AJ Parkinson says, give me Trent Dilfer, Jamarcus Russell, and Brock Purdy. Well, I've seen Brock Purdy's press conferences. No, thank you. No, please. No, Jamarcus Russell.
I would love something like that.
Now, what they're trying to show the modern day NFL. They're trying to show, 3 quarterbacks, as Lucas said, in different stages of what it is to quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, life as a quarterback in the NFL.
Dilfer's kind of had this already because they did the 30 for 30 on that Baltimore Ravens team, that era of Baltimore Ravens in the early 2000s. But I think at this point, Kay Oldham says Lucas is such a baby, doesn't remember Blues Traveler or MJ.
I'm wearing a Blues Traveler T-shirt. I love Blues Traveler. I've seen them multiple times. I've never seen Michael Jordan play basketball. I will say that.
I did. He was a wizard.
You saw him with the Wizards?
Yeah,
you went to a game where he played?
We lived in D.C. I was very, very young. Yeah, but I just remember there was a lot of people there, and I remember being like, that dude, he's kind of like limping around on the corner. What is this? Then I found out later, oh, he used to be really, really good at basketball and also was a baseball player one time.
Yeah, the closest I've been to seeing Michael Jordan is being at the Hoover Met in the Birmingham area where he played as a Birmingham Baron and just seeing posters of him throughout the concourse.
There are people screaming at their radios right now when I tell you that my best memory of Michael Jordan is Space Jam. Hold on to your steering wheel. Don't wreck. 615-737-1045 is the number. Joe Milton. Well, actually, that's a big conversation. I don't know if I want to do that coming up next. That's a really big conversation. We should probably save that one. So instead, let's get into something local that a lot of people have been talking about. Conor McGregor and Mike Chandler, local UFC fighter who has been going through the Ultimate Fighter, competing against Conor McGregor's team. Is the actual fight ever happening? I read a really interesting piece on ESPN that we're going to talk about coming up next. I'm glad you did this. Well done by you. Welcome back to the show. We've got some new information on the Pat Fitzgerald firing at Northwestern. It's the biggest story in college football right now. Turned it into an absolute bleep show. We'll get to that here in just a second. I did want to touch quickly on this, though, because I was reading ESPN.com this morning, just looking for different things that might be interesting or things that we haven't talked about or things that we have talked about that we could maybe take a different angle on because, 3 hours of sports talk radio in the middle of summer. And I got to this UFC Confidential column with Brett Okamoto, who's their staff writer there. With Conor McGregor's fighting future in doubt, what should Michael Chandler do next? Meme Wizard says, you guys are talking UFC, question mark? Is this a dream? We need more UFC talk. I don't think we've ever done UFC talk around here. Other than, when Michael Chandler was getting the Ultimate Fighter show against Conor McGregor saying, that's awesome. Mike's local. Mike is somebody who has done a lot of great work throughout the course of his career, and the idea that he would get to fight Conor McGregor potentially at the end of the Ultimate Fighter series would be massive, be huge for him. Because at this point, Conor McGregor is, he is of scale that he's making whomever is in the ring against him. He's increasing their exposure tenfold and their earnings potential equally as much. And in that sport, where Dana White controls everything and the fighters don't have the opportunity to make the kind of money that they should be making based on the earnings that as an entity is making, Dana White runs that really, really iron-fisted. So for Mike Chandler, this would be truly a generational type opportunity. But it sounds like that's very much in question, and Conor McGregor is the only one who seems to know the answer. And apparently, according to Brett Okamoto, even he might know at the moment. So he's expected to face Mike Chandler at some point. McGregor's 22-6, Mike Chandler's 23-8. At the conclusion of the series, the tomb so it's already been filmed. It's already been done in Las Vegas. The 7th episode of the season airs this week, and thus far, Mike Chandler's team is a perfect 6-0 over Conor McGregor's team. So right now, the 34-year-old McGregor has not rejoined the USADA drug testing pool, which he is supposed to be in for at least 6 months prior to any return to competition. And also, he is currently facing sexual assault allegations. So I hate this, obviously, for Mike Chandler, because this would be a massive opportunity for him to miss out on. The culmination of this Ultimate Fighter series that he's on ESPN this way every week is huge for him anyway. But I just thought that was unfortunate. I mean, he's 37 years old, I think, at this point, Mike Chandler. He's been around for a while.
And McGregor turns 35 in 3 days.
Yeah, of course he's not. I love that he has to be in the drug testing pool for a period of time before this. Have you seen what Conor McGregor looks like now? Have you seen how different his face looks?
No.
It's not. Look at Google a recent image. Both of you. I want you to both to do this right now. I want to get your reactions live on camera. Google a recent picture of Conor McGregor and tell me that is the same person from a jawline standpoint as Conor McGregor that you used to associate with the face of Conor McGregor. Now, I know he's shaved. He's doing something different with his facial hair. But, that dude's jawline, I wish we had, a reckless speculation.
He's filled out a little bit.
He's filled out with HGH. See,
a little bulkier.
He's filled out with something. I don't know what it is, but a human being's jawline does not change that way. So I'm curious to see. Now, I know he's definitely gained weight. There's no question, but his face is different. Now, I would assume there's a fair amount of reconstructive surgery in that business. So again, when I make HGH jokes, I don't want to recklessly speculate. But the face of Conor McGregor now is not. It's like which Kardashian is the one that has had a considerable amount of work done who does not look the way that she initially used to look? I think it's Khloe.
Yeah. Yes.
Khloe Kardashian is not the same person.
Different human.
Not a different human. You know what I'm saying? And when you have that kind of money, okay. But Chad Casual in the F&M Bank chat says Conor McGregor would melt the cup right now if he had to take a drug test. Probably fair. So from UFC to college football, what's the latest on the Pat Fitzgerald's story, the now disgraced and fired Northwestern coach, as that university continues to undergo investigations into their own hazing scandal.
Well, the widespread allegations of hazing, there have been some details to come out here and there, but largely all we know is that it is hazing of a very sexualized nature, right? The details have not really been delved into when it comes to the investigation. Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, who's been all over this story, tweeted at 10 o'clock that 6 Northwestern faculty members are asking university leaders for the hazing investigation report to be revealed publicly. According to a letter obtained by ESPN, they also want the $800 million Ryan Field rebuild project put on hold, the renovation to Northwestern's football stadium, quote, until this crisis is satisfactorily resolved. Now, there's a typo in here where Rittenberg says they want the $800 Ryan Field rebuild to be put on hold. It is $800 million.
Not quite.
The replies are funny. Somebody said, I'll spot them to 800 until this is over. But the letter says, quote, the findings should be made public to the fullest extent permitted by law, contingent on the consent of the victims. It is essential to learn what was known by NU coaches, staff, and administrators, and when and what steps were taken or not taken to address hazing. So these are Northwestern faculty members addressing their bosses, administrators at Northwestern University. Hey, release the investigation.
Good.
Show us everything.
That's who the failure is ultimately on. It's like, and I only bring this up because he's been in the news recently. Did you see what happened to Larry Nassar?
Oh, yeah. He was attacked in prison recently.
Stabbed in a prison altercation. But like the university administration at Michigan State that had, or even Penn State with Jerry Sandusky, like these people not at the height of athletic department power, but who are overseeing the university. You can go to Baylor and Kent Star, like over and over again, you see these missteps in power. So good on the faculty members at Northwestern for demanding that this investigation be released. Show us what you saw, and what you saw was relevant enough for you to cover up and slap this football coach with a 2-week suspension. Get the bleep out of here.
Talk about a disastrous period for this program. Now you got to move forward, hire a coach. Winning at Northwestern is only going to get more difficult now with USC and UCLA coming into the picture and doing away with divisions. Right, one big reason why Northwestern was able to get to Big Ten championship games.
They don't have to face the bad Big Ten teams.
You don't have to beat Michigan and Ohio State for that division, or Penn State. I mean, it is crazy how lopsided those divisions are in the Big Ten. And now with an $800 million renovation to your stadium being coming down the pipe and having to work through all of this, where faculty members are saying, put that on hold until this gets resolved. What a massive mess at Northwestern.
It's their own fault.
Yes, it is Pat Fitzgerald's fault. It is the administration's fault for how they've handled it. I mean, it's top to bottom, just failure at every level at Northwestern University.
615-737-1045. Speaking of cultural issues, I was listening to our buddy Josh Pate on his show Late Kick the other day, and he was talking about the team that stands the best chance in the SEC East to knock off Georgia, and talked about the level of competitiveness that Kentucky, Florida, and Tennessee have all tried, South Carolina included this, have all tried to maintain, and made the case for Tennessee being the closest at this point. But the question that he posed that I want to get into with you guys coming up next is Tennessee right now last year's team or more indicative of a program that is going to have sustained success? Those are two different things. We're going to work through that and talk about it coming up next. Man, lunch hour is right around the corner. It's coming up on us quickly, and it's got me thinking about what I want for lunch. And what I want for lunch is Central Barbecue. It's a great spot in Hillsborough Village, the old Sportsman's Grill location, and they have the best barbecue around. 21 years of serving competition-level Memphis-style barbecue that they have brought right here to Nashville, Tennessee. The menu is awesome, but it's not just that. It's the daily specials that they have on offer that will get you going. Today is $2 Tuesday at Central Barbecue. Whole smoked chicken wings. We had them last week. Oh, my God, they were incredible. My favorite was the hot honey barbecue. Lucas, did you have a preference as to the Central Barbecue wings that they sent here last week?
All of them.
That is correct. $2 whole smoked chicken wings, $2 pork sliders, $2 pork tacos, and weekly draft beer specials. Only $2. Go to Central Barbecue today and get your specials on.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. This week in college football, Northwestern has fired head coach Pat Fitzgerald amid allegations of hazing with the football program. Fitzgerald has been the head coach at his alma mater since 2006. Defensive coordinator David Braum will step in as the acting head coach. Major League Baseball tonight, the MLB All-Star Game begins at 7 p.m. from T-Mobile Park in Seattle. Last night was the 2023 Home Run Derby, and the champion, Vlad Guerrero Jr., following in the footsteps of his father, Vlad Sr., as the first father-son duo to be Home Run Derby champions. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour. What's happening? Welcome in. We're happy to have you here on 104.5 The Zone. Jackson, Lucas, and myself. Freudian slip. Did you dump that? Scared you a little bit. Oh, goodness. 615-737-1045. I was thinking Robert, and that's why that word came out of my mouth. What are you going to do? We have a lot to do in the final hour. We're going to talk a little Tennessee Vols here. Coming off this Northwestern story. They're not connected, of course. I don't want to try and draw any parallels. It's not what I'm doing. But the idea of culture is being discussed as something that we know precious little about. When people use the word culture, when football coaches use the word culture, you have no idea what they mean. They could mean the culture of Pat Fitzgerald, which is a fireable offense. It could mean other things that lead to productivity and, foster brotherhood or sisterhood or continuity or whatever the case may be. It may also be successful, and you have no idea because you're not in those meeting rooms. So the idea of building a culture and building a program around that, built on a foundation. What Tennessee is trying to do right now, Tennessee is probably the closest in the SEC East to being able to take a legitimate crack at Georgia. I don't know how realistic that's going to end up being, but of the other SEC East programs that you look around, it's not Vanderbilt, it would be tough for me to buy South Carolina this year. We'll see what happens with a new OC and what we think is going to be an improved situation for Spencer Rattler, but I'm not looking at them quite that way. Kentucky is in a period of transition. Devin Leary is an interesting prospect at the quarterback position for them. He's also like 25.
Kentucky should be better.
Kentucky
should be better than they were in 2022. Liam Cohen is back. Devin Leary, the quarterback. There should be a lot of excitement in Lexington for what might be possible in 2022.
What an interesting proposition for Titans fans that Devin Leary is going to make their football team better than Will Levis did. But you understand what Lucas is trying to say. So Florida, their projected win totals this year are awful. Awful.
Graham Mertz hasn't exactly inspired confidence within that fan base.
And so then there's Tennessee, right, who wasn't particularly close to Georgia last year, but they do present probably the best opposition to them in the SEC East at this point. And the question that I was listening to being discussed by our friend Josh Pate is that of Tennessee as are we looking at a flash in a pan type situation? Or is there clear and obvious evidence of a program being grown over time that is going to be able to at some point contend with the likes of Alabama, Georgia, and, should we say LSU? LSU is looks like it's in a pretty good position with Brian Kelly. I know they have sanctions that are being handed down in the football program right now that don't have to do with Brian Kelly, but like LSU, despite a down season here or there, has been, regarded as being on that same level, being looked at as having championship aspirations. We're not that far removed from, was Burrow 19?
It was, but you take it head coach by head coach, because for the purposes of this conversation, the hat tip is to Josh Pate. He talks about this all the time. Program versus team. LSU's a great example because I can't think of a better example, actually, of program versus team than the 2019 LSU team under Ed Orgeron versus the program as a whole under Ed Orgeron because we saw what happened when Joe Burrow and that exodus of talent from LSU, it went downhill pretty quickly. So Brian Kelly figures to build a program at LSU because that's what he did for years at Notre Dame and at Cincinnati before that, at Central Michigan before that. So there's no evidence of Brian Kelly being a head coach that is in charge of teams that can spike here and there, but programs that are consistent. That's what Brian Kelly does. So there's no reason to think that year one is a flash in the pan. Year one is just ahead of schedule for Brian Kelly at LSU. But that is still something Josh Heupel has to prove moving forward, that this is a program, what he's doing at Tennessee, not just a team that struck gold with Hendon Hooker.
And so, that burden is now on Josh Heupel. It's also on Joe Milton, right? Because this is, we've seen them change quarterbacks in Josh Heupel's first year, and then them go on to have great success within the window that Hendon Hooker was operating that offense, and that offense provide ample opportunity for a guy in Hendon Hooker who had not been much of a college quarterback to that point, had been a starter at Virginia Tech.
Yep.
And had come into Tennessee looking for an opportunity to potentially elevate himself, and got that opportunity. Got
under Pruitt, by the way.
Came
in under Pruitt and stayed.
Got the best possible opportunity. Was not named the starting quarterback out of the gates. That went to Joe Milton, and then was able to ultimately earn the starting job and go on to be, one could argue, the face of college football last year. So now Josh Heupel's record by year at Tennessee is something to cite here. Win-losses are, I think the most the most cut and dry way that coaches are going to be judged. So looking at his record at Tennessee, you go from, what was Tennessee? They were a 3-win program under Pruitt.
3-7 in the COVID year.
2021, they go to 7-6. 2022, that's an 11-win football team, and any of us would have brayed with laughter at you had you come into this studio or called into this radio station, not just this show, but this radio station. Even the most orange, blind Vols fans that we have, Ramon, Slay, I don't necessarily, Will, how many of them went to Tennessee at this point? Half the staff went to Tennessee. Any of them would have brayed laughing at you had you called in here and said that Tennessee was an 11-win football team last year. And yet there they are. So, is the standard at this point for the University of Tennessee under Josh Heupel, is it closer to 7 wins or is it closer to 11 wins? That's what this year is about. You have the opportunity to prove it to us that your system is capable of masking quarterback deficiencies or getting the best out of quarterbacks who may not be quite where they need to be for, the idea of a professional prospect, but still can be very, very high-level college players. Joe Milton is the best sample size for that. And we had a conversation that we'll probably have at this point tomorrow. The idea that Joe Milton is being discussed as the next Anthony Richardson is kind of wild because skill set wise, that's not what they are, other than they physically look similar. And so, people are doing some dead giveaway stuff on that optically. But for Tennessee, how close are we to thinking that this is the product of a good program, a solid program, a program that's now got its feet under itself, even though there technically is NCAA stuff still looming? Are we comfortable enough with 2 years of Josh Heupel to say that, or is 2023 still you still kind of got to show it to me year?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors here. The biggest thing for me is looking down the road. Are you able to look down the road at the future of this program and feel really good about it? With confidence, like at LSU, were you able to, knowing that Joe Burrow would be out of eligibility at the end of the 2019 season, or I can't remember if he was, I believe he was, but either way, knowing Joe Burrow would not be your quarterback anymore, knowing Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Christian Fulton, all those guys were moving on, could LSU fans realistically look down the road and feel really good about where the program was headed? They were recruiting well. Obviously, there was some off-the-field stuff that has come back around with LSU getting some NCAA penalties recently. But I don't know if you could say that under Ed Orgeron at LSU. Michigan State's a great example of this with Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker takes over at Michigan State in 2020. They go 2-5, COVID year, only play 7 games. 2021, they go 11-2. They start 8-0, and they go 11-2. Peter out a little bit. Kenneth Walker has a massive, massive season, considered a Heisman candidate for most of that year. They turn around in 2022. Mel Tucker gets this huge contract extension, one of the highest paid coaches in college football. They go 5-7. They're not recruiting very well. They followed up that 2021 season, Michigan State, finishing with a top 25 recruiting class, which is fine for Michigan State. But I don't know that Michigan State fans following that 2021 season could look down the road with confidence and say, we know that this is going to be sustained. I think Tennessee fans are confident about that because while the recruiting is not to the level of an Alabama or a Georgia yet, which is where you need to be to win championships, they're not there. But there has been improvement, year-to-year improvement.
And
in
they're
recruiting.
addressing the right spots.
Exactly. And the fact that Tennessee fans I feel like, are almost looking at this season. There's excitement, absolutely. And there are expectations for Joe Milton. But I feel like a lot of people are looking at this season. Patrick in the F&M Bank chat says Jamar Chase was still on the team in 2020. Not really.
He was an opt-out.
He opted out.
Caleb Farley.
Right. But
not the same.
Do you think Tennessee fans are looking at the season this way at just hold it over until Nico could take over?
Oh, yeah. No. I don't think so. Because that would be my position, but I'm not. I shouldn't answer for them.
I think if you are a Tennessee fan thinking this is the year to go win a championship, I think it's a little misguided.
No, but the hype is there.
Yeah, and
the excitement about the program is there.
Yeah.
The thing that is the biggest hinge on all of this is Milton, which is the most important position. He's the most critical figure for this season, right? There's no disputing that there's not a more important person on this football team who we have less information on than Joe Milton. Yeah. So I think at this point, my position would be that Tennessee fans have heightened expectations. That while the more realistic among them may say this is not a championship contending type of year, this may not even be a college football playoff type of year. We were not talking about that last year. And I think even some of the most grounded Tennessee fans I know would look around and say, well, you told me I was only going to win 8 games last year.
True.
Why are you telling me that I have to be capped at 8?
That's true.
That this offense, Heupel now has to live up to his own hype. It puts a degree of pressure on Josh Heupel that hasn't previously been there. Okay, I don't want to say fixed Hendon Hooker. You got the best out of Hendon Hooker. You've got an even better player now. Go get it, right? Theoretically, Joe Milton should be, by almost every measure, a better prospect of a quarterback than was Hendon Hooker. And also Hendon Hooker ended up winning that starting job. So it's a pretty interesting year for Josh Heupel in particular for all those different reasons. And I do think that at the end of the day, if you got them in an honest moment, most Vols fans would say, yeah, get me to Nico and then we can talk about championships.
Now, Tennessee was not a national championship contender last year. I would have a really hard time with the Tennessee fan calling in here and telling me they were were they a college football playoff contender, a contender to get to the playoff? Absolutely. Yeah. You could argue if Tennessee just handles their business and beats South Carolina that they're in the playoff.
That's like saying the Titans were a contender to make the playoffs last year, even though, they didn't.
Being a contender to get to the playoff and being a national championship contender are very different things. TCU was a contender to get to the playoff all throughout last year. In hindsight, when we look back, were they a national championship contender? No. And they got to the national championship game. They were 50-plus points away from Georgia. That was the separation in the national championship game. So TCU, even though they were in the game and technically by definition were a contender, they weren't a contender. They weren't close. 50-plus points can tell you that. So Tennessee was not a national championship contender last year, and that's okay. And they're probably not one this year. There is a gap to be made up. But I do think that enough things have happened, and there's enough coming down the pipe. And there are still things that Amari Jefferson, the 4-star receiver out of Chattanooga, he announced today an announcement for an announcement. He's going to announce his decision August 5th between Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. Those are the moments. That's how you build a program. Winning those moments with a high-profile prospect at a position of need in your home state, deciding between you and 2 teams that are perennial national championship contenders. So I think there have been enough of those moments collectively for Tennessee, Nico being the biggest of them, and being at the forefront of NIL, to give Vols fans confidence that this is a program being built, as well as everything you hear from the building and the culture and the lack of off-field controversy that's been happening or not happening under Heupel.
615-737-1045 is the number. It's an interesting discussion. I'm sure we'll have it several more times before the Vols host Virginia here at Nissan Stadium to start their 2023 season. Quick reminder, 1045thezone.com is where you go to get your Split Happens Bowling Bash tickets. It's the second annual event. It's coming up this Thursday. We are 2 days away from the bowling event at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. We got former Titan center Ben Jones going to hang out for a little bit. Darren Bates is bringing a whole team with the Raw Room crew, Coach Mack, and a couple other guests who are also going to be in attendance for an incredible night of bowling to benefit our friends at Home Street Home. What you get with your ticket, all you can bowl from 7 to 9 p.m., shoe rental, access to food and non-alcoholic beverages. You also get an alcoholic beverage ticket. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. And, of course, a portion of the proceeds going to benefit Home Street Home. You can get your tickets right now while they last at 1045thezone.com. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Speaking of the bowling event, we're giving away for the best bowlers. You know this, Lucas? We're giving away a pair of a single Turn 9 Club 3-day pass to the highest score for bowling on Thursday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. But if you don't have the highest score in bowling on Thursday night, and you want to go to the Turn 9 Club anyway for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 4th through the 6th, you can get your tickets today at musiccitygp.com. That's where we're going to be hanging out. It's all inclusive, food and beverage at the Turn 9 Club with one of the best spots for one of the best events in Nashville on any calendar year. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, the cars are going to run through the streets of Nashville around the footprint of Nissan Stadium and across the Korean Veterans Memorial Bridge at 200 miles an hour. It's an awesome 3 days of racing, food, music, and family fun. So to get your single day, 3-day passes, or premium hospitality like the Turn 9 Club, go to musiccitygp.com. Well, don't go anywhere now. The microphones are on. If you want something, come in here and say it with your chest, coward. Welcome back to the radio show. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Robert. Sammy's just walked in here, too. Also, a member of this betrayal that took place earlier. If you did not hear the start of the show, they had tried to actively derail me from being able to do the radio show on time today. I was here. I was ready. I was ready to go. The only thing that I had to do was move the entire pile of things that you had put in front of the door to barricade it to try and stop me.
It's a team effort.
We're just talking about SEC Media Day. Now it's going to be a scroof effort.
I'm sorry. The more time you spend in here, the worse at this that you get, which delights me.
You just love to see me fail.
I do.
One day you're going to miss me. One day I'm going to walk out in front of a bus or an asteroid's going to land on my house, and you're not going to have Bert anymore. And you're going to wish that you could have somebody come in here and derail all the stuff you're talking about.
It's not true. I'm going to end up with an asteroid that's probably not an asteroid. It's probably the Joe Dirt type of asteroid that you think is an asteroid.
A big blue poo?
That's right. You try to sell for parts.
Anyway, so we're talking about next week, SEC Media Day, big day for everybody. And I was trying to get information from Sammy about who you guys want to talk to so I can get them on RKW before they get on with you guys. So we steal all your thunder.
Sammy, your thoughts?
You know, I'm just trying to make every show happy, make sure everyone gets the guests that they want to get. So just wanted to come in.
But we're
who
first.
You want to talk to.
We're first.
You are literally first, yes.
Correct. On the itinerary, we're
you
first.
Go ahead and try and tell Dawn Davenport that you're going to get any guests that she wants to get before she gets them.
We are here on
I've done a Super Bowl with Dawn. I love Dawn very much, even though sometimes it doesn't sound like we do.
We're on
Guys, y'all don't have to work with her in a couple hours. Please stop.
Okay, I have an answer for you.
There's been, literally every person that works here has been on this damn radio show today.
Please do not, on the morning show, book South Carolina punter Kai Kroger that we can make sure to talk to him.
That is right.
You got a Kroger sponsorship or something?
If he can't capitalize on that with NIL, then that
would be.
Seems to be a missed opportunity. Is there actually something productive that you would like to contribute, or are you just coming in here to ask me things?
I do have something factual. You did not get here on time. It was 10:02.
Ooh!
Titans report. That damn Titans report.
Slammy by Sammy.
Getting too comfortable with that Titans report at 10 o'clock.
I can't send you to the shadows because I want that television more than I want you in the shadows. So the way that you sent yourself flying into the television is not a productive exercise around here. On time for me is when the imaging starts.
All right,
the imaging had not started. I was here well in advance. I even had time to throw Slay's big ass out of my way and make this happen. Things are being pointed out. We have news.
You tell Lucas to take those words out of his mouth about a damn Titans report.
You're right. It's a very, literally every person.
Also, for SEC Media Days, I'd like to request Haywood Ledford, Vince Dooley, and Paul Bear Bryant.
Oh, rest in peace.
Again, literally every person that works here has been on this radio show today.
This is the closest this show has been to the Muppets in its entirety.
Which one are you?
Ooh, I'm probably Animal.
Which one's
you are Animal.
Is that the drummer?
Yeah. From Dr. Tooth and the Electric Mayhem.
And he's appeared in those commercials. Is it the Geico commercials?
That's how he
playing the drums.
You're right. That is you. All right, go around the room. Assign Muppet characters to everybody. Since you're Animal, go ahead.
You're very easy. You are Sam the Eagle. He is the pessimist. He is the old man. You're making a face very similar to Sam the Eagle. We'll Google it in the break. Lucas is probably Gonzo. He is probably the guy that rides the motorcycle. It's like, Gonzo the Great rides off again. And all his things fail spectacularly. But Lucas's are spectacular, and they rarely fail. Sammy would probably, I would say, because there's only one female Muppet that I can name, but I don't think you're Miss Piggy. I feel like I would give you...
I think I'm Miss Piggy. I think I'm definitely more Miss Piggy.
You probably are.
Jackson agrees.
I don't know who Sam the Eagle is, but I know who Miss Piggy is. I know the personality type. I feel like I'm definitely
He's not
aligned.
Oscar the Grouch?
Oscar, that's a not a Muppet. That is Sesame Street. Same maker, but not a Muppet, technically.
Wait, what are we doing?
Muppets.
Oh, is this different?
Yeah, Muppets. Okay, just because Jim Henson is the dad of all of this doesn't mean that Muppets and Sesame Street are the same thing. Big Bird is not a Muppet. Big Bird is Big Bird.
What was I supposed to talk about here?
The most common misconception about the Tennessee Titans this offseason.
Oh, this is much better. Go ahead.
Tennessee Titans as Muppets. Go.
I don't have the catalog of Muppets
I have to deal with these people in 15 days, 14 days.
I don't have a Muppet encyclopedia in my brain the way you seem to. Like,
Listen,
I'm having to Google the Muppets.
I come in here every day with knowledge about Muppets. Yesterday it was Knights of the Round Table. You guys thought that I couldn't name somebody other than King Arthur and Lancelot. I hit you with Galahad. Y'all act like I can't read. Y'all act like I can't dress. I'm in here flexing with my Crocs on. There's nothing I can't do. So I'm gonna send myself to the shadows because I'm tired of being on this show.
There appears to be some kind of stain on your collared shirt.
Well, because I wore this last night in primetime and I was eating ribs. So anything that I wear on primetime, it's kind of like half of a day, so I can wear it again the next day.
For more Bert on primetime, A to Z Sports tonight with me at 8 p.m.
Who's Rizzo
that
the
is
Rat?
such a counterproductive tool when they can see you on camera, unplug yourself and walk out. Sammy, so what is your obligation for SEC Media Day? Are you responsible for booking people for us?
I'm not booking people for you, but I will be creating content around people that you have on as guests, behind the scenes content, maybe some one-off interviews.
Mm-hmm. And where can people find that?
On Zone TV.
Okay, look at that. On the YouTube channel, Zone TV, and of course, live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Slay is in the chat. Coward. Ran out of here this morning after barricading my doorway. I've never seen him move that fast. Maybe it's because he's half a Slay now as opposed to a full-size Slay.
He was wearing his Benfica jersey, which I love, by the way. So he was back to a professional athlete Slay.
It was a tribute, it would seem. But yes, he moved out of here. I'm going to deal with him on Thursday. I'm basically doing, and Hunk, I don't know if you know this, I'm doing basically the entirety of your show also on Thursday from the bowling event. So I'm sorry to, everybody else is infringing upon this particular situation.
Why are you doing this to me?
Why? Because I got to sell tickets. Thank you for that laugh into the microphone. That was a helpful contribution by you. All right. Sammy, I can't send you the shadows, but thank you for hanging out.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about Will Levis. This is nonsense. Lucas brought up this conversation that was being had on the Athletic Football Show, and it was a conversation about the top 10 available free agents in the NFL right now. Now, I haven't heard the podcast itself. I'm going to assume that DeAndre Hopkins was number one.
Yes. It was a conversation about the best fits for the top 10 available free agents in the NFL, and Robert Mays and JP Acosta discussing the best fit for DeAndre Hopkins.
So, with that being said, people are asking questions about the bowling winnings and losings. The best score for bowling is getting a 3-day pass to the Turn 9 Club for Music City GP. So, if you haven't gotten your tickets for the bowling event, you could potentially, if you're worth a damn at bowling, can get a free Music City GP Turn 9 Club, all-inclusive food and beverage, pass if you get the top score. We're also going to be giving away great concert tickets at this, so you can get your bowling tickets at 1045thezone.com. Brown and Casey asks, bowling loser eats another onion? No. We're giving the lowest score, the worst score, we're giving them a Buck Reising Show t-shirt. Our friends at Polka Dot Sky Studios made us the Buck Reising Show shirts last year, so you will get a Buck Reising Show t-shirt if you have the worst score at the bowling event. Either way, so the top 10 free agents are being discussed by Robert Mays of The Athletic on the Athletics NFL show. And so they're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, and of course, as has been a part of the discussion for weeks and months now, they brought up the Tennessee Titans. But the context that they brought up the Tennessee Titans with is so perplexing to me. Jackson, let's hear the audio.
The idea of putting DeAndre Hopkins on the Patriots is not enjoyable to me. It's the same as putting him on the Titans, where he also took a visit. It's like, okay, yeah, I think DeAndre Hopkins makes sense for the Titans. I think that they would benefit by going after a player like him, especially if they're going to play Will Levis at some point this season. You want to put him into fairly cushy circumstances, and they don't have those right now with their offensive line and with their pass catching group. But it's still not enjoyable to imagine him toiling away down there in Tennessee with a rookie quarterback and a half constructed offensive line and all of the questions that they have.
What the hell are you talking about, rookie quarterback? Robert Mays is one of the smartest people in this business that I know. What on earth are you talking about?
Well, he says something about if Will Levis plays this year. So it's like, okay.
If they plan on playing him this year.
Is that what he said?
Yes. If they plan on playing Will Levis at some point this year.
Can you play that part of the audio again, Jackson?
Well, just play the whole clip.
DeAndre Hopkins on the Patriots is not enjoyable to me. It's the same as putting him on the Titans, where he also took a visit. It's like, okay, yeah, I think DeAndre Hopkins makes sense for the Titans. I think that they would benefit by going after a player like him, especially if they're going to play Will Levis at some point this season. You want to put him into fairly cushy circumstances, and they don't have those right now with their offensive line and with their pass catching group. But it's still not enjoyable to imagine him toiling away down there in Tennessee with a rookie quarterback and a half constructed offensive line and all of the questions that they have.
If they play Will Levis this year, which there is a scenario in which Will Levis plays this year, right? Ryan Tannehill missed X amount of games last year, but the turn to, but him toiling away with the rookie quarterback.
They're ignoring
that would be the reality.
It's crazy. People talking about this godforsaken football team who aren't regularly tasked with talking about this godforsaken football team are acting like this starting quarterback does not exist. I don't understand it. I can't wrap my mind around it. It's not like the high ankle sprain that he had back at when was the game that he suffered the high ankle sprain?
Wasn't it Indianapolis?
It was October. It's not like the high ankle sprain that he had last year is something that's going to continue to bother Ryan Tannehill unless it happens again to him in 2023. What the hell are you talking about Will Levis? Is any business in the discussion right now? He hasn't even beat out Malik. Think about that. He's still the third quarterback on the roster. That doesn't mean that he's destined or determined to be the third quarterback on the roster. It doesn't mean that he won't beat Malik Willis out in training camp. Those things have yet to be determined, and yet everybody else who is talking about this football team continues to talk about Will Levis as if he has some kind of real role to play here this year. Beyond learning, beyond growing, beyond developing, and if need be, or God forbid, for the sake of Ryan Tannehill, there's another injury, providing them a better option than the one who could not operate an NFL passing game in 2022. The need to move on from a player like Tannehill, when Ryan Tannehill, it is reasonable to expect that, and I need to look at the statistics, but he's got to be pretty close to some of McNair's, statistical records here. And I'm not talking franchise history. Warren Moon is the most accomplished and best passer in the history of this franchise. Steve McNair is the sacred cow, right? He's the guy that got them to the Super Bowl. He's Air McNair. He's co-MVP. He is the gold standard of what it is to be a Titans quarterback. He's the guy that nobody can compare to because he was the first.
Single season, yes, but Steve McNair was here for a decade. The total numbers are not going to be there.
He's already broken McNair's consecutive starts streak. He has already presided over the best offense in the Titans era of football. Ryan Tannehill is going to go down as one of the, I'm not saying the best, but one of the best players at that position in this franchise's history. And there is a need to move on from him in ways that I cannot possibly understand or comprehend. It's not because I have any great love for Ryan Tannehill. It's because I've watched a lot of bad quarterback play here. And I don't understand why people are so quick to move on from above average quarterback play when you know how bad it's been here the last couple of years, for the better part of 15 years after McNair.
It's not that. It's not a conversation about should they, shouldn't they. It's just what is and isn't. Ryan Tannehill is the starter. And if Ryan Tannehill is healthy in 2023, he's going to start every single game in 2023. And he would be DeAndre Hopkins' quarterback.
But people's inability to grasp that is infuriating to me. And I just want to grab people by the shoulders and shake them and say, why don't you get it? Why don't you understand? Are you not actually paying attention? And it's fine. It's hard to keep track of 32 NFL teams, right? It's really, really hard. I didn't know that Marcus Mariota was an Eagle. That is a fireable offense as far as I'm concerned. I had no idea. I'm sure I did in March when we talked about it, but since then, haven't thought about Marcus Mariota until this damn Netflix documentary thing was brought up. It's hard to keep track of everything that happens with all 32 NFL teams, okay? But if you're going to be talking about this particular NFL team at the most important position, then the thing that you have to know above all is that there is nothing beyond injury or catastrophic levels of performance drop-off that is going to pull Ryan Tannehill out of that starting lineup this season. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. Last call for phone calls. Updates and polls coming up next. Wrapping up here on this Tuesday, 615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls. Do some polls here in a second. Starting to plan the show for SEC Media Days. I'm excited to be down at the Grand Hyatt all week. It's going to be a great time to have all our friends in town from ESPN and the SEC Network, and certainly a lot of interesting coaches, players who are going to be wandering the halls or wandering the streets of Nashville. You think we're going to get another man on the street type situation like our buddy Alex Doherty did? It's easier to not recognize the general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks than it would be, Nick Saban.
Who's the least recognizable SEC head coach?
The one you were just talking about, the Mississippi State coach.
Zach Arnett.
Who I've never heard of until you said his name.
That's good.
I mean,
I want to just play a game.
Our chances of getting Zach Arnett on next week. Huh?
I would love to quiz you on SEC head coaches.
Do it right now. We've got time.
Who is the head coach of the Missouri Tigers?
Eli Drinkwitz.
We just mentioned him. Yeah.
Well, I know also because his glasses and his last vestiges of hair up top make me laugh. That's how I know Eli Drinkwitz.
Who's the head coach of the Florida Gators?
That would be, Billy, what's his name? Napier.
Man.
I went to that game last year. You weren't going to get me.
Honestly, Arnett maybe would be the only one that you wouldn't get because he wasn't a household name before he took over for Mike Leach.
I've talked to a couple, not many SEC head coaches, but I've talked to a couple, whether it's, because we're at Senior Bowl and they're out on the field and they're talking to players and stuff like that. Like, I know most of these people. You have denigrated my college football acumen so much that it's like I think you're making it so much easier for me to achieve.
Yeah, the bar is so insanely low.
Do you know how many texts I got about celebrating a 10-13 record on SEC trivia and me acting like I just won the Super Bowl?
Head coach of Kentucky.
Stoops, not Bob. Mark.
But we do need to raise the bar. I think we do need to raise the bar.
But, it'll take me a second.
Head coach of Texas Tech.
No idea.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't know.
No idea. No, this is the only conference that I actually have to care about.
Joey McGuire is the answer.
Oh, Omar in Houston next.
Hey, how you doing, Buck?
Great, boss.
All right, man. I was just calling in because when you said about that, people and how they are about Ryan Tannehill, it bothers me so much, man, as well. Like, I'm a long-time listener of your show at the evening time and A to Z in the morning with Zach and Austin, and the amount of fans that need therapies after that Cincinnati game. And then, I think the media people that don't really pay attention to us anyway, and then, it's the same thing with them as well. It's like they go ahead and they write off Tannehill without really looking at the full scope of everything from, offensive coordinators to Dennis Daly to everything, that we deal with. It all comes together, but they tend to want to not look at that and just say, Tannehill's trash, get him out of here, So I feel you on that, Buck. I just want to call in and tell you I'm right with you on that.
Thanks for the call, Omar. Affirmation, baby. I think, is it worth talking about later in the week or maybe, at some point in training camp? I don't know how you want to do this, but, is there anything Ryan Tannehill can do to get credit? To get credit for what he's been able to do here? Because it seems, even when he was the thing, the biggest change, Derrick Henry going nuts down the stretch in that season was obviously hugely impactful, and they were a much better football team in 2019. But, Ryan Tannehill is not credited as the reason that they reached the AFC Championship game, other than, the idea that they never sniffed the AFC Championship game, much less the playoffs without Ryan Tannehill.
I think he's credited with reviving the offense in 2019. What changed? What's the one thing that changed about that offense?
I know, but
in the middle of the season.
But Cincinnati,
Derrick Henry was still on the team in the first 6 weeks of 2019.
Cincinnati, I think, destroyed any and all goodwill that quarterback had. Any and all goodwill whatsoever. That changed very, very rapidly from people liking to imitate the finger roll touchdown celebration to him being the bane of Titans fans' existence. Anyway, polls.
Not now, Jenny. I'm on the radio. Buck Reising gave me a job. Said something about a poll update. Hope that wasn't at that club where you became a folk singer. Anyway, Buck Reising's producer and correspondent has the final poll update. I'm not a smart man, but I know who Lucas Panzica is.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What in sports made you say, oh, no? Oh, this is timely. Cosmo Jenkins says Tannehill every time he threw the ball more than 15 yards against the Bengals.
Told you.
What are we doing?
Told you. Now
It was a year and a half ago. I'm so mind blown by this. We asked, what made you say, oh, no, over the weekend? And Cosmo Jenkins says Ryan Tannehill against the Bengals in January of 2022.
He sounds like me, doesn't he?
What is happening? Goody says that kid getting drilled in the face by the line drive at the home run derby.
I didn't see it, but I'm going to go back and watch it because I'm sure it's going to make me laugh. Hopefully the child is okay, I guess.
Are you interested in watching the quarterback series on Netflix focusing on Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins? 54%. Only 54% say yes.
Yeah, hard no. No, thank you. I'm good.
Who's Hard Knocks? It's the Jets, right? It is the Jets.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, are you going to show me Aaron Rodgers at the psychedelics convention in Denver? Because that's what I want. I don't want Aaron Rodgers out there throwing into the net and making all his passes and that being some celebration of Jets football. Bleep out of here.
Who looks worse, Pat Fitzgerald or Northwestern? 68% say Northwestern.
The answer is yes.
What is the most detached from reality offseason narrative about the Tennessee Titans? Frankie says that signing Hopkins would make the Titans a playoff team.
It would immediately give them the best wide receiver group in the division, which is hilarious to me, given all the hand-wringing about the wide receiver core. But the most ridiculous narrative is the one around Tannehill, the one that just made Lucas scream into the microphone and sound as grating as I do.
Jeff says it's that they are a DeAndre Hopkins away from a Super Bowl. He says, buddy, I got some news for you if that's what you're hanging your hopes on.
If you make the playoffs, you are a Super Bowl contender. It's random as hell. That's how these sports work. I understand why that's a stretch for you to believe, but if you can get into the postseason, anything else is just kind of, luck and health.
Clay says the most common misconception is that the Titans are in a rebuild. The deal got done with Jeff. They didn't trade away any major assets for draft capital or to lessen the cap hit. He says if the team can stay healthy and certain individuals can keep from gambling at the facility, they are a postseason potential team.
Or on the bus, or at a team hotel, or anything that's, on Titans-sponsored Wi-Fi.
Tyler says Mike Vrabel being on the hot seat is a common misconception. Where in the world has that come up?
From the same Titans fans who are still bitching about the 3-interception performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's where that's coming from.
Is there any person on earth that has said the words Mike Vrabel's on the hot seat? I haven't heard that once.
Did a whole week about it, bud. You weren't here.
Good.
Lucky for you.
Those are the polls.
Okay, that's the show. Fun stuff. Tomorrow, we're going to have an interesting conversation with Steve Cavendish of the Nashville Banner. He's going to be in studio. The Nashville mayoral race is going on, and there are a lot of different sports stories that impact how you may vote. So we'll get into that with Cavendish tomorrow, prime time tonight. I'm sure we'll be talking more Titans. See you then.